Houghton, Michigan. The wind cut the skin like razors that early morning. The snow accumulated along the edges of Pine Hill Forest was stained with something no one noticed right away. Blood, and not a little. Jonas Malley, 38 years old, a maintenance technician, stepped out to smoke behind the paper factory where he had worked for over 10 years. He never came back. It was the janitor who found his cap the next morning, lying near the wire fence, stained dark red. The trail led into the forest. The police were called. 3 local officers followed the trail for nearly 700 meters before they stopped, shaking. One of them vomited. In the thick woods they found parts, a piece of rib torn off, the left hand severed, fingers still curled, and a grotesque blood trail, as if something heavy had been dragged, or someone had tried to crawl away, losing pieces along the way. The footprints were confusing, too large for any wolf or bear. They had a human shape, but with claws. Long claws, and beside them, other deep circular prints, as if the ground had been crushed by heavy paws. Forensics couldn't explain it. Large animal, probably a bear out of season. But none of the officers believed that crap. 3 days later, Casey Lambert, retired trucker, woke to the sound of his dog barking. The old German Shepherd was not one to make a fuss for no reason. Casey got up from the recliner, grabbed his shotgun, and stepped outside in thermal underwear, irritated. The yard was coated in ice. He only had time to see the dog flying through the air, slamming against the barn wall with a sickening crunch. Shattered. A low, deep, animalistic growl came from behind the shed. Casey ran. Ice cracked under his boots. His chest burned with adrenaline. He stopped at the corner of the house, aimed the shotgun. Nothing. He took a step. Then he heard the sound. Snapping. Not leaves. Bones. A stench of rotting flesh and coagulated blood filled the air. And then it came. A massive shadow. The noise was the creature stepping over the dead dog, crushing it. The shotgun shook in Casey's hands. He pulled the trigger. The blast shattered the silence. Direct hit. Nothing dropped. The monster charged like lightning. Casey tried to run. His hand was ripped off with a single strike. He screamed. Tried to get back to the house, stumbling. The second blow came from behind. Something pierced through his back and exited his chest. His ribs were pushed outward, bursting through the skin. Casey collapsed with a dull thud. Blood pooled on the ice. The creature stood still for a moment. Its snout rose. It sniffed the air, then vanished into the darkness of the woods. The next morning, the scene was a frozen nightmare. Local agents sealed off the area, but the media already knew. Another animal attack. That was the headline. Residents began fleeing the town. Those who stayed locked their doors. The local sheriff's office, overwhelmed, requested federal assistance. 2 days later, Special Agents Derek Shaw and Riley Moore arrived at the small regional airport. They didn't know it yet, but they were stepping into a place that was no longer just a small-town community. It was a hunting ground. The plane landed in Houghton under a leaden sky. The cold was biting, and the smell of wet forest mixed with chimney smoke. Derek Shaw stepped off first, tall, dry-voiced, ex-military, eyes that trusted nothing he couldn't see. Behind him, Riley Moore, younger, a specialist in anomalous behavior cases and unidentified trace evidence. Her background included cult investigations in Alaska and unsolved mountain attacks. The local sheriff met them with a sleep-deprived expression. 3 missing, 2 dead. And we're not even counting the animals, he said, throwing a folder of reports onto the hood of the car. The animals? Riley asked. Deer torn apart, moose split open like garbage bags. We found a horse, decapitated. Derek said nothing. Just lit a cigarette, eyes scanning the woods. Footprints? He asked. Yes, forensics think it's a bear, but... The sheriff hesitated. No bear is 9 feet tall and walks on 2 legs. Silence. Then Riley looked up from the report. You're hiding something. The sheriff glanced around. We're trying to avoid panic. The town's already breaking. With winter tourism canceled, no one's going to set foot here. But what you're about to see, well, see it yourselves. Casey Lambert's house was a war zone. Blood frozen on the walls, claw marks in the wood, as if something tried to tear the house open. The agents gloved up and searched everything. Derek stood before the rear wall of the house. The claw marks went through solid pine logs. This isn't human, he said. Riley was inside the shed, filming. She stopped when she saw something in the corner. A strip of fabric caught on a splinter of wood. She pulled it with tweezers. It was skin. Human skin. And it was burned. She looked at her partner. Something's wrong with this. That night at the local motel, rain pounded the metal roof. The agents pinned photos, maps, and attack trails on the wall. 3 disappearances in November, 2 dead, no survivors. Derek said, drawing lines in red marker. But look at this. Riley pointed at the lunar pattern. Every attack happened on or near a full moon, including the animal mutilations. Derek scoffed. You think we're dealing with a forest monster? I don't know, but it's not a bear, and it's not human. Riley pulled another report. Look at this. The jaw that tore the horse's head off had a bite force of over 1,800 psi. Not even a grizzly does that. He was silent. Tomorrow we go to Pine Hill. That's where the trails always vanish. We go armed. Derek said, flat. She nodded. She knew he was right, and she knew they were walking into the heart of something ancient. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, something moved among the pines. Heavy steps, claws scraping the tree trunks, a slow, predatory breath. The scent of fresh blood still lingered in the air. And from the darkness, 2 yellow eyes slowly opened. There was more hunger coming. Pine Hill Forest was dense, tight, suffocating. The damp ground sank under the agents' boots as they advanced, guided by maps and local reports. Crows watched from above, still, like sentinels of something that didn't want to be found. Riley walked with her flashlight low, illuminating trunks, while Derek moved ahead, hand always near his pistol. The first thing they found was a smell. Strong. Too sweet. Too rotten. Smell that? She murmured. Old blood. Then the body appeared. Or what was left of it. A local logger, identified by his torn blue jacket and a boot still attached to his leg. He was stuck in branches, hanging nearly 7 feet high, like a trophy. His torso had been ripped open, organs removed, eyes gouged from their sockets. Something, or someone, had dug claws into his face and wrenched the jaw sideways, shattering the skull like a toy. Riley froze, her stomach twisted. She leaned against a tree, heart racing. This isn't just a mutilation, she whispered. This is hatred. Derek already had his gun drawn, eyes scanning the surroundings. It wasn't just the brutality. It was what it meant. This wasn't an attack. It was a message. Then they heard it. A rustle, something breaking branches, not far. They froze, both panting. Only the sound of their own breathing. The sound came closer. Do not move, he said. Derek slowly turned and aimed. Silence. Then a scream. Not human. a deep guttural roar that echoed through the forest like the trees themselves had flinched. They ran. Fast. Riley tripped on a root, fell to her knees. Her flashlight rolled away. She grabbed it in the dark, frantic. The flickering light revealed footprints near her. Huge, three-toed with deep claws. Fresh. The sound of something running behind them echoed. Heavy. Fast. Voracious. Terror gripped them. Legs burned, lungs screamed, but they ran. Only when they cleared the trees did they stop. They collapsed to their knees on the dirt road, sweating, hearing only the hammering of their own hearts, no words for minutes. Back at the car, Riley looked at Derek, pale. "We saw what did this, Derek. Even if we didn't see all of it." He nodded. "This isn't investigation anymore. This is survival." Riley later reviewed the photos in the motel room, mouth dry, heart still racing. She used software to simulate the bites based on bone marks. The result appeared on screen: jaw with 3-inch canines. Eye spacing, 6 inches. Estimated height, 8.8 feet. She nearly dropped the laptop. Derek entered without knocking. "You need to see this," he said. He opened a wooden box. Inside, old documents, photocopied from the town's library. Newspaper from 1971. Headline: 3 deaths in the forest. Mysterious winter attacks. Police blame wild animal. Same pattern, same location, same time of year, same type of deaths. There was a black and white photo. In the background, a silhouette. Something in the brush. Impossible to see clearly. But something was there. "This is repeating," Derek said grimly. "And I don't think it's going to stop." In the woods, far away, the wind whistled through the trees. Something moved, slowly. Frozen ground scratched by heavy claws. And from the shadows, a massive creature raised its head to the sky, sniffing. It smelled fear. The sky was clear, cruelly bright. The full moon cast a pale, lifeless light over the forest. Derek and Riley stood inside the vehicle, engine off, headlights out. The police radio crackled with interference. "Do you feel that?" Riley whispered. The air was colder than usual, not just winter. A presence, a weight, as if something was watching. They exited the vehicle and proceeded on foot. Each step echoed on the snow. Derek with a .45 pistol drawn, Riley with a loaded Mossberg shotgun. Then they heard the first scream. A human sound. A man, not far off. They ran, flashlight in hand. The sound came from the east, where old train tracks cut through the woods. The snow was disturbed. Blood stained the trail. Then, something moved in the dark. "There!" Riley shouted. Derek turned and aimed. The flashlight beam cut through the brush, and for a fraction of a second they saw it. Over 8 feet tall, black fur and taut muscle. Legs like a man's, but twisted, with joints that looked wrong. The eyes. Yellow, glowing like embers. And the teeth. A massive mouth, open, drooling. It charged. Shots rang out instantly. Derek fired 4 times. The creature reeled back, howling but did not fall. Riley fired the shotgun. It lunged to the side, grotesquely agile. The chase began. They ran toward the road. But the thing did not want to escape. It wanted to play. It appeared ahead, then to the side, then vanished, as if circling them, as if hunting. "Ma, stop!" Derek barked, pulling Riley behind a tree. They stood still, both panting, hearts exploding in their ears. Nothing, only breath and fear. Suddenly, a sound behind them. Crack! Riley turned and fired. Hit a tree. The creature roared and appeared from the other side, lunging at Derek. He fell backward, the monster on top of him. Derek screamed. The creature's jaws opened, saliva dripping, breath reeking of rot and coagulated blood burning his face. He punched its snout, drew the pistol, and fired twice into its chest. It howled. A long, inhuman sound, then fled, vanished into darkness. Riley rushed to him. "Are you okay?" Derek stared into the dark, unblinking. "No, that was not human." She helped him up. The claws had torn his vest. His chest was bleeding, but not deep. They returned to the vehicle in silence. The radio was dead. The engine cold. The beast had passed through. The bodywork was dented. Claw marks etched the paint like steel blades. Derek sat in the driver's seat, staring at the moon. "We saw it, Riley. With our own eyes." She looked at him, pale. "That should not exist." Hours later, at the motel, Derek cleaned the wound with alcohol. Riley searched old records on her laptop. She found a name. David Crenshaw. 1971, only survivor of an attack in the county. Claimed the monster was a man-wolf. Admitted to a psychiatric hospital. She read the medical report. Patient shows physical trauma consistent with animal attack, but maintains recurring delusion. The creature was a man who turned into a wolf. Believes there are more. She looked at Derek. "This is real, and it's happened before." He just nodded, staring at the bottle of whiskey on the table. "We're dealing with something that hunts people, something that thinks, and now it knows who we are." In the woods again, the monster limped. Blood trickled from its side. But it lived. It stopped at a hilltop. Howled. A long, sad sound filled with rage, and in the distance, another howl answered. The night had been long. Neither of them slept. The attack, the creature, the howl in the forest, all still vibrated in their bones. Riley typed frantically on the laptop while Derek read through printed pages spread across the bed. "This Crenshaw guy, he's still alive," she said. 78 years old, lives in a nursing home in Iron Mountain, 2 hours from here. Derek looked at her. "You want to talk to a lunatic?" "No, I want to hear from someone who survived what we just faced." Silver Pines. Nursing home, Iron Mountain. 2:22 p.m. Old David Crenshaw sat in a wheelchair, thin, sunken-eyed, but alive and alert. "You saw it, didn't you?" he said before Riley could speak. Derek crossed his arms. "What do you know?" Crenshaw stared with a bitter smile. "I saw the first one in 1971. Thought it was a bear, until it stood up and spoke to me." Riley froze. "It spoke." "You shouldn't have come here," it said. The voice, it was human, but distorted. "I ran. It bit me in the leg, but didn't kill me." Derek leaned forward. "Why not?" "Because I was already marked. And if you get bitten by one and survive, you become one." Silence. The old man pulled up his pant leg. The scar was grotesque. Deep, ragged, as if something had torn flesh from the inside out. "I fought it my whole life. They pumped me full of drugs, sedatives, but I feel when they're near." Riley trembled. "You think there are more?" Crenshaw laughed, dry. "You think only one of them survived this long? They hide. Sleep for years. When they wake, it's to feed. Humans are cattle." Derek took a deep breath. "How do you kill one?" The old man turned serious. "Only one way. Silver bullet. To the heart. Miss, and it comes back. Always comes back." He pointed at Riley. "And you?" "He touched you, didn't he?" Her eyes widened. "How?" "You can feel it. You won't turn. Not yet. But you're marked. He'll come for you." Back at the motel. The atmosphere was tense. Riley sat silent on the bed. Derek cleaned his weapons. On the table, 45 bullets and shotgun shells. Nearby, small silver ingots bought at a local jeweler. "You think this will work?" she asked, still staring at the ceiling. "It has to." He melted the silver and began crafting the tips with precision. "Next full moon is in 4 days. That's how long we have to prepare." Riley sat up slowly. "If he marked me, he'll come for me. I want to be the bait." Derek turned his face. "Forget it. I'm not letting you be prey. You don't have a choice. He already picked me." Silence. He returned to the table. "Then we'll be ready." In the forest, same night the monster moved slowly. The wound in its chest still burned, but it felt it. It smelled her, and it felt the others. They were waking. It was not alone. 2 days later, Derek worked in silence. The warehouse's flickering fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. On the metal table, he sharpened a hunting knife beside a box of ammo labeled in ink. 45 ACP, silver-coated. Riley stood near the door in tactical vest. She no longer trembled. Her eyes were different now. Focused. Hard. "We have 2 days until the next full moon," she said. "After that, either it dies, or we do." Derek didn't respond. He grabbed the shotgun and checked the chamber. Silver shells. Locked it shut with a dry click. "We hunted in the forest." "No," Riley interrupted. "It's not in the forest anymore. It wants blood. It's coming to town, for me." Silence. She approached, staring him down. "We need to pick the ground, decide where it happens, create a kill zone. It's our only shot." Derek looked at her. "You're talking about setting a trap." "Exactly. At the old Grayson farm barn, isolated. One entrance, exit through the bottom if it goes bad." He nodded. "Then we lure it there and kill the son of a bitch." Grayson Farm, 9:37 p.m., night before the full moon. The barn was huge, with old wooden beams and the smell of dust and rot, abandoned for over 20 years, after the owner went insane and murdered his own family with an axe. Locals said the place was cursed. For Derek and Riley, it was perfect. They set motion sensors, stake traps, poured cow blood to attract the beast. In the dark corners, emergency lights with silent batteries. Upstairs, a lookout with 360-degree view. Riley placed a radio in her vest pocket. Her hand no longer shook. "Are you still scared?" Derek asked. She looked at him. "No, just angry." Full moon night. The sky glowed silver. Moonlight poured directly over the farm. Inside the barn, everything was still. Derek upstairs, Riley on the ground back to the door, weapon ready. The radio hissed, a sound, a creak, then silence. "He's coming," Derek whispered into the radio. Riley knelt, bit her lip until it bled. Her heart raced. Thump! Something landed on the roof. Crack! Wood splintered, huge weight. The smell, that stench of rotting meat and sour blood entered the barn before the creature. Then, it appeared. Black fur, golden eyes, mouth dripping thick saliva, teeth like knives, claws the size of machetes. Derek aimed and fired from above. Boom! The silver bullet tore through the creature's shoulder. It roared and turned upward, running up the walls like a vertical horror. Leapt. Derek rolled, escaping by inches. The beast landed upstairs, shattered part of the structure. Riley fired. The blast threw the monster against a beam. It roared and sprinted at her. She fired again. Another hit. But it kept coming. She ran, ducked under the stairs. It chased. Derek fell from the upper floor, slammed into the wooden ground, cracked a rib, screamed. The monster turned toward him. Riley shot it in the back. It whirled, grabbed her, and hurled her violently against the wall. The impact was brutal. She hit the ground, bleeding, coughing blood. Derek crawled. The shotgun was too far, only the pistol on his leg. The beast approached Riley, who choked on her own blood. Derek screamed, "You son of a bitch!" The beast turned its head. Derek ran, jumped over the boards, fired point blank, once, twice, 3 times. The last bullet, silver, pierced its chest. It stopped. The howl died in its throat, fell to its knees, then face first, dead. Silence. Derek rushed to Riley. She was dying. Blood streamed from Riley's mouth. The left side of her chest had been torn open. The tactical vest had not held. Derek pressed both hands on the wound, but the blood would not stop. Her eyes were losing focus. "Hold on. You're going to be okay. I'm going to get you out of here," he said, teeth clenched. She grabbed his arm. "Listen. Don't talk. Stay with me. I'll call for help. Shut up, Derek." She coughed blood. "I'm dying." He shook his head, denying it. She smiled faintly. "There are more of them. You saw it. The howl." Derek froze. He remembered. The creature's howl, answered by another. Distant. She was right. "You have to hunt them all. Every last one. Promise me." He held her hand tightly. "I promise, but you're not going to..." "Promise!" "I promise," she exhaled, closed her eyes, and breathed no more. Derek knelt there, her body in his arms, still holding the pistol. For a long time, he said nothing. The barn was covered in blood, broken wood, empty shells. In the middle of the floor, the monster's body lay still. He stood, his face wet with tears and rage. Walked over to the creature's corpse and kicked it hard, then knelt and tore out one of its teeth. "One of you is down." He walked out of the barn with Riley's body in his arms. Rain fell. The grave was covered by a plastic tarp. No official ceremony, no police, no family. The tombstone had no name, only a cross. Derek stood in silence, then placed something on the dirt, a silver bullet, dented, and walked away, without looking back. In a cabin, isolated in the mountains of Ontonagon, weeks later Derek cleaned his weapons at the table. Maps, files, old photographs, reports of similar attacks, forgotten towns, destroyed bodies, each place a name, each name a bullet prepared. Derek was no longer a federal agent. Now he was a hunter, and the full moon would guide him. The world seemed silent after her death. The forest, once alive with nighttime sounds, was now a desert of wind. Derek drove aimlessly. Riley's body was wrapped in a black tarp in the back of the vehicle. He could not speak, could not think. He only felt the weight, not just of her death, but of what was coming. Derek stared at himself in the mirror, eyes red, skin pale, placed his gun on the sink, opened the bag with Riley's belongings. Among them was a digital voice recorder. He played it. Her voice filled the room. "If you're hearing this, I'm dead. I knew it would happen. I always knew. What we faced was no accident. That thing chose me, like it knew." Pause. But it was not the only one. I saw it in its eyes. It was a soldier, a scout. They're scattered, hiding, sleeping, waiting. Another pause. Her breathing on the recording. "You're the only one who can stop this, Derek. You have the rage. You saw what they did." "If I fall?" "Don't bury this. Burn it all. Hunt them. One by one." The audio ended. Derek turned off the recorder and threw it against the wall. He picked up the shotgun, cleaned it, oiled it, then started plotting routes, maps, attack sites, lunar cycles. Grief turned into fuel. Sorrow became a weapon. He put on his jacket, holstered the gun, took the silver rounds, and left. The world no longer made sense as Derek knew it. Reports, meetings, laws, all of it had proven useless against what hunted in the forest's shadows. He was no longer an agent. He was a man with a mission: extermination. The first town on his list was Ekalaka, Montana, a cold case from 1998. 3 dead. No suspects. Tracks similar to the ones in Houghton. An old pattern, buried beneath the veneer of bureaucracy. He arrived quietly, registered under a different name, bought supplies at a gas station, scouted the area like a ghost. At the city library, he found what he needed: an old obituary. The main victim, a child. The body was never found. The mother was committed for visual psychosis. She claimed she saw a man covered in hair and blades for teeth dragging her son into the woods. The sheriff at the time retired and disappeared the following year, exactly during a full moon cycle. Coincidence? Not anymore. In a motel room? Night. Derek assembled his gear: silver bullets, sharpened knives. A map with red circles. He picked up a burner phone and dialed a handwritten number. A woman answered, elderly, cautious. "Who is this?" "Name's Shaw. I was Riley Moore's partner." Silence. Then her breathing on the line. "I warned her not to go back to Houghton." "She's dead. I saw it. She died fighting." "Then you know about them." "I know. They're everywhere, sleeping, hunting, adapting. The world forgot them, but they didn't forget us. I won't let anyone forget." Poor Derek said. The woman sighed. "There's one in Crescent City, California. Killed a family last month. Only the father survived. He's hospitalized. Claims it was a demon with a dog's face. He wrote it down. Thank you, I'll find it." "You'll die, like they all do." "Maybe, but I'll take some with me." Derek slung the backpack over his shoulder, exited the room. The sky was clear. The full moon began to rise, and he smiled. Not with joy, with rage. The hunt had begun.